The grand ballroom of the Regency Hotel sparkled with crystal chandeliers and the soft glow of candlelit tables as Madison / Associates hosted their annual company gala. The evening was meant to celebrate the firm's most successful year yet, bringing together employees from every department, distinguished clients, and industry leaders for an elegant night of recognition and networking. 24-year-old Emma Rodriguez stood near the entrance, nervously adjusting her emerald green evening dress. With her light brown hair styled in soft waves and delicate pearl earrings that had belonged to her grandmother, she looked elegant despite feeling completely out of place. As a junior marketing intern who had only been with the company for 6 months, Emma rarely interacted with anyone beyond her immediate team and had never attended such a formal corporate event. Her supervisor had insisted she attend, saying it would be good exposure to the company culture, but Emma felt like she was wearing a costume and playing a role she did not understand. The dress, which she had found at a consignment shop and spent a week's grocery budget on, suddenly felt too formal and too revealing for someone of her junior position. Emma clutched her small clutch purse and surveyed the elegant room filled with confident professionals engaged in animated conversations. She recognized a few faces from her floor, but most of the attendees were senior executives and clients she had only heard about in meetings. The intimidation factor was overwhelming. When the dinner chimes sounded, Emma realized she had never received a table assignment. In her nervousness about attending, she had forgotten to check with human resources about seating arrangements. Now, as elegantly dressed couples and groups made their way to their designated tables, Emma found herself standing alone, uncertain where she belonged. Looking around desperately, Emma spotted an empty chair at a beautifully appointed table near the front of the room. The table was set with fine china, crystal glasses, and elaborate floral centerpieces that suggested it was reserved for important guests. But seeing no other obvious options and feeling increasingly conspicuous standing alone, Emma made her way over and quietly slipped into the vacant seat. The man sitting beside her was distinguished and handsome, appearing to be in his early 40s with perfectly styled dark hair and wearing an impeccably tailored navy suit with a green silk tie that complemented her dress remarkably well. He had been engaged in conversation with others at the table but turned toward her as she settled into her chair. "Good evening," he said with a warm smile that immediately put Emma slightly more at ease. "I do not believe we have met. I am Michael." "Emma Rodriguez," she replied, offering a tentative smile in return. "I work in the marketing department." "Well, I am an intern in the marketing department." Michael's eyebrows raised slightly in what seemed like surprise, but his expression remained friendly and interested. "An intern? That is wonderful. How are you finding the experience at Madison & Associates?" Emma felt herself beginning to relax as Michael's genuine interest in her response became apparent. "It has been quite a learning experience," she said carefully. "Everyone has been very welcoming, though I have to admit, events like this still make me a bit nervous." "Understandable," Michael nodded. "These formal gatherings can feel overwhelming, especially when you are new to the corporate environment. How long have you been with the company?" 6 months, Emma replied. "I started right after I graduated from State University with my marketing degree. I am hoping to transition to a full-time position when my internship ends." As the first course was served, Emma found herself enjoying Michael's company more than she had expected. He was an excellent conversationalist, asking thoughtful questions about her background, her career goals, and her impressions of the company. He seemed genuinely interested in her perspective and did not display the condescending attitude she sometimes encountered from senior employees. "So what do you think of the company leadership?" Michael asked as they were served the main course. "From an intern's perspective, how do you feel the company is managed?" Emma hesitated, swirling her wine glass thoughtfully. The question felt loaded, but Michael's encouraging expression suggested he genuinely wanted her honest opinion. "Well," she began slowly, "most of the people I work with directly are wonderful. My supervisor, Jennifer Matthews, is incredibly supportive and has taught me so much." "But," Michael prompted, sensing there was more to her assessment. Emma glanced around the table to make sure no one else was listening to their conversation, then leaned slightly closer to Michael. "I probably should not say this, especially at a company event, but I have some concerns about the overall direction of the firm." Michael's expression grew more attentive. "What kind of concerns?" "Well, from what I have observed and heard from other employees, There seems to be a disconnect between upper management and the day-to-day reality of what employees experience, Emma said, her voice quiet but passionate. For example, there was a big announcement last month about increasing productivity and cutting costs, but then they eliminated the employee recognition program that really boosted morale. It felt like the leadership did not understand what actually motivates people. Michael nodded thoughtfully. That is an interesting observation. What else have you noticed? Emboldened by his receptive response, Emma continued. There also seems to be a lack of communication from the top down. Decisions get made without input from the people who actually implement them. I have heard several experienced employees express frustration about feeling like their expertise is not valued when changes are announced. And what about the CEO specifically? Michael asked, his tone carefully neutral. What are your impressions of Michael Madison? Emma sighed, feeling comfortable enough with her dinner companion to speak more openly. Honestly, I have never met him personally. He seems very focused on the financial aspects of the business, which I understand is important. But from an employee perspective, he feels very distant and unapproachable. I have heard he rarely interacts with anyone below the executive level. Michael was quiet for a moment, and Emma worried she had spoken too freely. I hope I have not been too critical, she said quickly. I really do appreciate the opportunity to work here, and I have learned tremendous amounts. It is just that I care about the company and want to see it succeed. Your honesty is refreshing, Michael said finally. It sounds like you have given a lot of thought to these observations. Do you have suggestions for improvement? Emma's eyes lit up with enthusiasm. Actually, yes. I think regular town hall meetings where employees could ask questions and share concerns would make a huge difference. And maybe having leadership spend time in different departments, not just for formal visits, but actually working alongside people to understand their challenges. Those are excellent suggestions, Michael said, seeming genuinely impressed. You clearly have good instincts about organizational dynamics. As dessert was served, the conversation turned to lighter topics. Michael asked about Emma's interests outside of work, her family, and her long-term career aspirations. Emma found herself sharing more than she normally would with someone she had just met, but there was something about Michael's genuine interest and thoughtful responses that made her feel heard and valued. You know, Emma said as they were finishing dessert, I have to say, this evening has been much more enjoyable than I expected. I was honestly dreading it because I felt so out of place, but talking with you has made it wonderful. I have enjoyed our conversation tremendously as well, Michael replied. You have given me a lot to think about. Just then, the evening's program began. The master of ceremonies approached the podium at the front of the room, and Emma noticed that several people at nearby tables were turning to look in their direction, some with expressions that seemed surprised or confused. Ladies and gentlemen, the announcer began, please welcome the founder and CEO of Madison / Associates, Michael Madison, who will be presenting this year's Employee Recognition Awards. Emma felt the blood drain from her face as the man beside her stood up to polite applause. The same Michael who had been listening patiently to her critiques of his leadership, who had seemed genuinely interested in her intern's perspective on his company, was Michael Madison himself, the CEO she had been unknowingly criticizing for the past 2 hours. Michael turned to her before walking to the podium, his expression kind but amused. Emma, I want you to know that this has been one of the most valuable conversations I have had in years. We will definitely be talking more. As Michael made his way to the front of the room, Emma sat frozen in her chair, replaying every word of their dinner conversation in her mind. She had not only accidentally crashed the VIP table, she had spent the evening telling the CEO everything she thought was wrong with his leadership approach. During his speech, Michael spoke about the importance of honest feedback and different perspectives in building a strong company culture. Several times, Emma caught him glancing in her direction with what appeared to be an encouraging smile rather than the anger or disappointment she had expected. When Michael returned to the table after his presentation, Emma immediately began to apologize. Mr. Madison, I am so sorry. I had no idea who you were, and I never should have spoken so freely about company matters. I understand if you want to terminate my internship. Michael held up a hand to stop her. Emma, please do not apologize. Your insights tonight were exactly what I needed to hear. You were honest, thoughtful, and clearly passionate about making the company better. Those are qualities I value tremendously in an employee. But I criticized your leadership directly, Emma said, still mortified. You gave me feedback that I apparently needed to hear, Michael corrected. And you did it respectfully and constructively. That takes courage, especially from someone in your position. Over the following weeks, Michael implemented several of Emma's suggestions, starting with monthly town hall meetings and regular leadership visits to different departments. He also offered Emma a full-time position in strategic communications, recognizing her ability to understand and articulate employee perspectives. 6 months later, at the next company gala, Emma sat at the same VIP table, this time by invitation rather than accident. She had become one of Michael's most trusted advisors on employee engagement and company culture. And when people asked how she had risen so quickly from intern to executive team member, Emma would smile and say that sometimes the most important conversations happen when you do not know you are having them. The evening that had started with Emma's mortifying mistake had taught both of them that honest communication and genuine interest in different perspectives could transform not just a company, but the careers and lives of the people brave enough to speak their truth.